Hello and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve
And
Forbes.
I'm Kenzie Benali.
And today Southampton return to Premier League action with a trip to Goodison Park to take on Everton following a couple of great results in the Cups, including beating current Premier League champions Manchester City in the Carabao Cup to make it to the semi-finals. Now, 3 points could be vital for either team today, with both languishing in the relegation zone. Now, joining us to discuss all the pre-match action, we have former Southampton captain Dean Hammond and former chief sports writer for the Southern Daily Echo, Adam Leitch. I hope you're both doing well. Dean, are you still on a high from Wednesday night?
I am, Steve. I am. What a fantastic performance and a great result. So yeah, still buzzing, Steve, and hopefully, like you say, we can carry that into today's game in an important Premier League fixture.
Yeah, most definitely. And Adam, I can't imagine you got to write about too many nights like that during your time at the Echo.
No, you feel a bit jealous when you miss. You feel like you missed one somehow, even though I've been gone from there for a couple of years. You're like, oh, I'd have loved a night like that. It just threw me back a little bit to the semi-final when they beat Liverpool and kind of just how unexpected it was and how magical it felt. And I think I've only just recovered my breath from running around the lounge at about 100 miles an hour when the second goal went in. About the fastest I've ever moved, I think.
Now that I'd like to see. Well, here's hoping for more of the same today, but lots to talk about in today's show. So let's discuss the early team news before the official team news is announced in just under 15 minutes' time. We'll start with Romeo Lavia. He is available. Of course, he did come off early on Wednesday, but that was just precautionary. Alex McCarthy and Theo Walcott are said to be closer to being available, so there is a chance that they could be in the squad this afternoon. Now, new signings Miroslav Orsic and Charlie Alcaraz could make their Premier League debuts today. Saints will continue to be without Armel Bella-Kotchap though, and we aren't expecting Stuart Armstrong to be in the squad either. So quite a lot of early team news there to take in, Adam. But after Wednesday's fantastic win, we all enjoyed that one so much. Are you expecting and hoping to see a similar lineup to take on Everton today?
Well, I'd love to see the same team, and I'd love to see the same style of performance. I think what I really want to see from Saints is that style to be the same. I really don't want them to retreat now, to go a little bit more defensive, to play a bit more direct, like they have been previously. That is the way that they need to play, and we've been calling for it, for them to try and impose themselves and their games on oppositions again. They were aggressive. They were on the front foot. They pressed hard from the front of the pitch, and that is when Saints are at their best. Yeah, okay, it leaves you a little exposed at times. Maybe you are taking an extra risk or two. But I think if there was any doubt in Nathan Jones's mind that aggression is the way that Saints are going to get results, hopefully that has been completely spelled out to him now, because that was an excellent performance. So the only thing I would say, naturally, I say an unchanged team, because the team that's done it, played like that and got a result like that deserves to stay. However, that would have taken a lot out of those players. They played an incredibly intense game of football. They gave, full effort, full mental concentration against a very good team for a sustained period of time. And if assuming that Nathan Jones wants the team to play like that again, he just has to judge, are all of those 11 guys fit enough now after that game to go again at that same intensity level? And so if there's one or two that maybe that's a bit much for, then you have to say fair enough if he has to make a couple of changes. But I would hate to see anybody left out unnecessarily. I'd hate to see a change to the system, and I'd hate to see a change to the style of play. So I really hope that if there's any changes, it's only because he needs to get a little bit of freshness in there to keep up that momentum and that style.
Yeah, Dean, there was some tinkering to the starting 11 for that match against City. Sekou Mara starting up front, Romeo Lavia back in the side as well. How do you expect Southampton to line up this afternoon?
I'll agree with Adam and Steve. I think Nathan will go with the same team, unless, like Adam mentioned there's enforced changes through injuries, for the amount of effort that was put into to get such a fantastic result. So I think he would like to go to the same. After you get a result like that and the performance like that, you want to build on that momentum. The momentum in terms of the feeling within the group, the feeling within the players. They'll go into today's game feeling completely different, and they'll have a freshness about them. They'll have an extra bounce in their step. They'll be looking forward to the game, which maybe they haven't over the last few weeks, which makes a huge difference. So, and I like the blend of the team as well, especially in the midfield area. You know, you've got Lavia in there, and Diallo. I think when Lavia plays, you've got Diallo who can play in there and he can do his job. So he can break up play. He can be aggressive. He's not then expected to get on the ball and be creative and be excellent in possession. He can bring his own qualities out. With James Ward-Prowse playing a little bit further forward, he has that goal threat. So those three in midfield look like there's a good balance in there. And I think that really helped the team and helps the team in terms of playing the way they want to play with that high press, with that energy. So I think that helped. Mara getting his goal will give me huge confidence. I'd want to see him play again. And defensively, you know, we look strong. Man City didn't have a shot on target. And I don't think that's probably happened many times under Pep's reign as Man City manager. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, it's going to be a tough game today because Everton have got everything to play for as well. And it's a really important game. But if I was Nathan, I'd be very, very tempted to go the same and allow the players to go and express themselves and take the momentum into the fixture.
Well, Team News coming your way in around 10 minutes' time. But before we do go any further, let's look back on that fantastic win against Manchester City on Wednesday night.
It's a one-off. Both sides will be desperate to win this. Back to Lianco. That's good play. They're working Grealish off the ball. Then Lianco's lifted it. No one's come out. The keeper stayed back. Mara turns and shoots. It's blocked by Carl Walker and goes out for a goal kick. Poor touch indeed. Ball played in and Saints have the lead. It's a brilliant finish. Who'd have thought Lianco would provide it? Sekou Mara smashed his first goal for Saints, running onto a great cross. So much more identity to this performance. That's a lovely ball from Lavia, and suddenly Djenepo's bursting through. He chips the goalkeeper. It's an absolute beauty. It's an absolute beauty from Moussa Djenepo. As De Bruyne plays Alvarez through, and suddenly he's through on goal. Shoots wide, right-footed, slippery surface. That might change if City get a goal back, of course. We're going to get nervy, all of us. And De Bruyne has it. Good ball from the left, swept to him. In comes Haaland, and out comes Bazunu. And he dives on the ball as Haaland was bearing down on goal from De Bruyne's cross from the right. It's Adam Armstrong brings Carl Walker-Peters into it. City is stretched. Saints in the box. Walker-Peters on the right. Can't get a shot away. Ward-Prowse can. Deflects. Adams. Flag up. Won't count. 2-0 it stays. Near the left-hand corner of the penalty. It gets a back heel return to him. Gundogan squares it. Should be 2-1. And it isn't. And it's a huge missed opportunity right in front of Gavin Bazunu, helped on away by Diallo out of the box, but City now really pressing. Another floated cross in. Haaland gets a little flick with his head, but Bazunu saves it. Didn't get enough deflection on it. Walker-Peters down the right. He's been excellent tonight. And that's it. Peter Banks says enough is enough. He puts Manchester City, the champions of England, out of their misery. Southampton are through to the semi-finals of the League Cup.
There we go, highlights of that emphatic win over Manchester City in the Cup. Now, Adam, we saw James Ward-Prowse playing a slightly different position for that match as our furthest forward midfielder. Do you like him in that position?
I pretty much like him in most positions, to be honest. He's a great player. He's and one of the best players Saints have had in recent years. And he's a real leader for the team. And I think we really saw him stand up and be counted in midweek. It's been a struggle for him at times, I feel, this year. It's not been an easy year for him with the transition of the changes in the team around him. And I think that's been difficult, but they've needed him. They really need him to provide that leadership, I think. And that's really what we saw from him. I do like him further forward. I think if you had your strongest Saints 11, if you had perhaps I should say a stronger team that they're obviously building towards, I think still that position that he did play, I like him in that kind of quarterback role. I think him alongside Romeu, when they had that kind of style, I think that is his position at this point in time. I think it also gives him the best longevity to play there as well. However, the way they can set up when they've got everybody available, and particularly the importance of having Lavia back in the team. Obviously allowed Prowsey to play further forward, and he plays that role excellently as well. He's just a top player. I mean, you look at that. You look at the game against Man City. Who could have watched that and frankly have thought that you would you rather have Calvin Phillips or Prowsey? Would you rather probably have Grealish or Prowsey? Frankly, I think you'd want Prowsey, and I think that says an awful lot for him and the way he plays. And yeah, I think the reason that he can play these different positions is just because he's very intelligent as much as anything, as much as his ability, and he obviously has bags of ability and talent, is his intelligence as a footballer. Because in that, you could look at him and go, yeah, behind the front player, is he a number 10? No, he doesn't really have the attributes for that. But actually, you know what? He has players around him who can do different things, and he knows how to get them involved, where he should position himself, how to play. And that means he's really adaptable for Saints. Like I said, I think his better position is slightly deeper, but right now, Saints need him perhaps to play a little bit further forward. And he's great there as well. So, yeah, no complaints at all. And it was great to see him back to, I feel like, somewhere near his best against Man City.
Yeah, indeed. Great to see for sure. And it was also great to see Dean Sekou Mara getting his first goal for the club. Of course, he has shown glimpses of what he can offer in previous matches, but just how impressed were you by his overall performance and indeed that goal against Manchester City?
Excellent, Kenzie. I think it's been his best performance for Southampton by a long stretch. He had that impact when he came on against Leeds with that assist and a lovely striker goal. But it was his willingness to press and the work he done off the ball, his willingness to run in behind. And that may just be from the fact that he maybe understands now what the manager wants from him. Coming into a new football club, a new environment, a new culture is difficult at times, and especially for a player that's only 20 years old. I think we forget that sometimes. But his finish and his movement for the goal are exceptional, and it's instinctive. It looks natural. It's just brilliant movement. He's really, really patient in his movement. He gets on the blind side of Cole Walker, and he just moves at the right time. And he moves at pace to get away from Cole Walker, but then there's just a slight pause, and the composure to finish like he does was exceptional. I think that just shows what technical ability he has, and that he can score goals. So he'll be really, really pleased, and it will do his confidence the world of good. And like I say, he's 20 years old. There would have been a lot of expectation from him. So he'll want to prove himself to the group. He'll want to prove himself to the fans. He'll want to prove to himself that he can play at this level. So, yeah, fantastic for him. It was a brilliant goal. It really, really was. And it was something that what I quite enjoyed about it, Kenzie, as well. It looked like it'd been worked on the training ground. So compliments to Nathan Jones, compliments to the coaching staff. With Lianco or a wide player gets in that position, his movement looks like it's a sort of drill you would do in training off mannequins or a couple of defenders, which is good to see. So, yeah, really, really pleased for him, and hopefully that will kickstart his Southampton career.
Yeah, hopefully it does. Now, Adam, we have to talk about Moussa Djenepo's goal. What a finish. The last time he scored was in March 2021.
Well, what can you say about Moussa? We haven't said before. I mean, Mr. Inconsistent. I mean, he's got this in his locker, and that's why he is a great talent, and that's why he's also an incredibly frustrating talent at times. We've seen it since he turned up, and those first few games you remember him playing, and you're like, this guy is electric. He's got something special. He's got an X factor about him. But like many players who have that kind of quality, the difficulty is consistency, and that's what separates some of these guys from people who become greats, I suppose. And that's where he's got to strive towards. It's the same with Moussa in some ways. He's obviously been around a few years now, but he's still relatively young as a footballer, still relatively inexperienced and learning his trade. But we can see what he's got. And I think if Nathan Jones can be the manager that gets these kind of performances out of him 4 out of every 5 rather than 1 to 2 out of every 5, then he's going to have a very, very special player on his hands, and it's going to be very, very good news for Saints, because some of the things he can do,
I'm so
a lot of
sorry.
players can't.
I am going to have to be that guy at this time of the week to cut one of you off again, because the team news has just come in. There are 3 changes that have been made to the side from the one that beat Manchester City. El Yunusi, Edozie and Adams are all back into the squad, with Djenepo, Mara and Adam Armstrong dropping to the bench. Lianco is believed will move to right back. So here's that Saints starting lineup in full. In goal, Gavin Bazunu, then Lianco, Duje Shaleta-Sarr, Mo Salisu, Carl Walker-Peters, Romeo Lavia, Ibrahima Diallo, our captain, James Ward-Prowse, Moy Elyounoussi, Sam Edozie and Shay Adams. And then the Southampton substitutes bench is Willie Caballero, Roman Perro, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Musa Djenepo, Charlie Alcaraz, Mislav Orsic, Joe Aribo, Adam Armstrong and Sekou Mara. Adam, I will come back to you as I so rudely cut you off. Finish waxing lyrical about Musa Djenepo. He's on the bench. What do you make of that starting lineup, though?
Yeah, no problem, Steve. I thought I was about to time it perfectly, but I just, as per usual, I just talked too much. So sorry. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the team. I'm glad that he's stuck, as much as he perhaps can. I am surprised perhaps there are 3 changes there. I thought maybe we'd see 1 or 2. I actually understand the change up top. That kind of makes sense to me. Everton are probably going to be pretty big and physical and rugged, and I think that change makes sense. Edozie obviously has played well recently. We like what we've seen from him. Elyounoussi, probably a bigger surprise for him to be coming in. There's no disrespect to him, but to make the 2 changes. But again, I wouldn't criticize it, because it looks to me he's tried to keep the nucleus together and just make a couple of changes, and he needs to be sure of that intensity from the team again. And so if a player like, a couple of players, especially like Musa, hasn't played a lot, perhaps asking him to go out and do that from the start again he may just judge it's a little bit too much. So I think after everything that's happened, you just got to back the manager on this.
Dean, are you maybe slightly surprised to see both scorers from Wednesday night move to the bench?
Yeah, maybe, Steve. I think that would be fair to say. But like Adam's just touched on there, Djenepo's not played a huge amount of football, so it could be a big ask for him to come in and replicate that performance. So I think it's Nathan freshening up that front line to allow the players come on to be creative, to have the energy to run at the Everton, the back 4. Shay Adams comes in, he brings that physical presence, so you can be a little bit more direct at times if you're camped in. But I like the fact that the back 4 stayed the same, the midfield has stayed the same. It keeps the spine strong, the base of the team strong. There's a foundation and structure from the victory the other night and the performance, but also the clean sheet. So I think if you can go to Goodison Park and Everton at the moment and keep a clean sheet, you've got a fantastic chance of winning the game, because Everton don't score many goals. So I think it's been very sensible and intelligent to keep that the defence and the midfield the same, and then just some freshness and energy in the front line, really. So no problems with that team selection, but also you have those players that performed so well the other night in Mara, Djenepo, Adam Armstrong can come on and affect the game for the last 20, 15 minutes if Southampton need a winner. Or the game opens up and there's more space. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing this team play.
Yeah, as are we, Dean. And I want to expand on that Musa Djenepo chat. I know he's moved to the bench for today's match. But, Dean, what is his best position for you?
Great question, Kenzie. I think he's still learning. I think that's important that we don't judge him too much. He's 24 years old, so he's not in his prime. I think like Adam said, he's inconsistent because he has some magical moments. He has some brilliance, like we're seeing his goal against Brighton. His goal against Sheffield United here is incredible, really. The way he sends the players, his balance, his movement. And when he gets in goal-scoring positions, he's actually really clinical. He's quite composed, actually. The issue he has, he doesn't get into those positions as often as you would like him to be. So I think he can play in a number of positions. I think his best position is an attacking wide position, but he has filled in at left back, like we've seen. He's actually more aggressive in the tackle and impressing than I expected when he's played there. So he's a committed team player as well. But he does have natural ability, and he has that ability to excite. He just frustrates because it doesn't always come out in his game, and probably his end products and his select decision making need to be a little bit better. An example here where he strikes, maybe he could have played Shay Adams, but again, that will come with the more games he plays, the more experience he has. Has he been at Southampton? This is his fourth season. I think he's played 70 or 80 games, something like that. So he's still learning, but the one thing he does, he has spectacular ability at times, and he's fantastic. You just want to see it more. So I'd say a wide position, whether that's left or right, I'm not too sure. But in those positions, the pressure comes that you do have to be creative, you do have to have assists, and you do have to have goals, and you'll be judged on those. And probably that's why the frustration comes with Djenepo.
Now, before we move on to some new additions at Southampton and also today's opponents, Everton, finally a word on our Carabao Cup semi-final draw, Adam. We've got Newcastle, and with the form they're in, that's going to be tough.
It's really tough, Steve. I think it was the one that you probably didn't want, but of all the draws, and in a strange kind of way, it's so weird, isn't it? Like, after searching for form in the league this season, to go and win a couple of cup games, and then especially the second one of those being a quarter-final against Man City, and in this crucial run of fixtures, you're so happy for them to have got a result, for them to have hopefully found a new way of playing and a new confidence, and you feel like it's a result that can really kickstart their season again now, and you're so happy for that. And in another kind of way, you think this is a crucial run of fixtures they're in. They could really do with not having 2 more midweek games in between all these matches in many ways, but you can't turn down, obviously you couldn't turn down a semi-final either for a club like Saints. So it's a really weird, like, I've got this weird like mixture of feelings, like whirring around my head about it in many ways. I can't quite make them out. But if you just look at the draw in isolation, it's a really tough draw. My initial reaction was slightly frustrated the second leg would be at St James's Park, but then as I've kind of reflected on it a little bit more, I do wonder whether that might give Saints the best opportunity they could get from a draw as difficult as this right now, given the form Newcastle is showing. Newcastle haven't won a trophy for a long time. They are doing great in the league, that is true. They have some possibilities, but really getting a trophy in the trophy cabinet for that club is so significant. It's absolutely massive, and it probably takes priority for them now above the Premier League. And the Newcastle fans are desperate for a trophy. They are going to be absolutely baying for their team to win that semi-final. That, in some ways, you might go, well, that makes it hard for Saints, but maybe it doesn't. If they get a good result at St Mary's, if they could get a win to take up there at St Mary's, or even a draw and go up there and then kind of frustrate them for a little while, the pressure on those Newcastle players is just going to grow and grow and grow. And you just don't know how they'll react to it. The crowd might push them over the edge, or they might actually put them back into their shells a little bit. So there's actually, perhaps it's me looking for positives out of all this, because obviously I want Saints to do well. But I actually think, yeah, maybe it's not all bad, that draw, the way it's panned out. But it's certainly going to be difficult. But if you get to a semi-final, it's going to be difficult. And Newcastle, they're not Man City, so and we beat Man City, so you just take it as it comes, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, it's that part of the show now where we hear from you, the fans. Lots of you getting in touch as ever from all corners of the globe, which is great to see. We've got Nazar on YouTube joining us all the way from Turkey. He says, let's get the job done. Vishnu, one of our regular viewers on the show, hello to you. He says Lavia is world class. Ashley Pragnell is getting in touch via Facebook. I'm hoping for a win. Everton under a lot of pressure. Fans angry with the board. I think Nathan might put the new boys in the team to add some fresh legs. Well, we will talk about the new signings in just a moment. Obviously, that comment coming in pre-team news. Lorraine also getting in touch. Hello. She says, same commitment and passion, please, Saints. Rosemary White also with us. Good afternoon. She says, come on, boys. Show us Wednesday was not a fluke. Loved it. And we'll finish with this one here from Russ Ward. He says, oi, oi. Looking forward to our new signings coming on to impact the game. Both teams will be looking for a win with Everton under pressure too. Well, Dean, earlier this week, Southampton did confirm the signing of Mislav Orsic, didn't they? From the small amount you have seen of him, what can he bring to Nathan Jones's side?
Goals and assists, I hope, Kenzie. I think that's what his track record is. He's an international player. He's got an experience. He comes at the age of 30, I believe he is. So he's had a lot of experience. He's played in the Champions League. So an exciting player that gets goals, that is reasonably direct. He takes responsibility with the ball, where he'll take shots on. I was watching some highlights of him. He scored some incredible goals. He likes to come in from that left-hand side and kind of cut in and use that trademark of curling it in the far post or the far top corner. So a creative player that just gives Nathan more options, but also with that experience, he can help the younger players as well, whether that's in training, whether that's in game situations, and take on a little bit of more responsibility. When we've gone through this recent bad period, we spoke about the lack of experience within the group and the squad, and he can bring that. So an exciting player, but Southampton have scored 15 goals, I think, this season in the league. So if he can bring the assists, the goals that he's previously scored, it's going to be a big help, a big boost. And I'm excited to see him play. He needs time to adapt, but as he is that a little bit older, hopefully that will be less time and he can come in and have a real impact and an effect on the group and each game, and hopefully that can be today from the bench.
Now, Carlos Alcaraz, or Charlie as he likes to be called, is our other signing. He's been described as a traditional number 8, Adam. Now, I'm not expecting you to know loads about him as he's come from his native Argentina, but from what you have seen of him, how do you think he'll improve this Southampton team?
I'm really glad you didn't expect me to have seen too much of him because I'll be totally honest, I'm not an expert on the Argentinian league. I'll barely could be called an expert on this league, let alone another one. But yeah, I mean, from what I've seen and I have read opinions of people who I respect who have seen a lot more of him. He's obviously a very, very exciting young player. I think the challenges he will face are very different in many ways. As Dean just described with Orsic, I think there you've got a very experienced international footballer, kind of, at an age where he comes in at 30 that's knows the score, knows the game. Yes, he's got to get up to Premier League speed, but he's just been playing in the World Cup. I think he can come in and make an immediate impact. Alcaraz, I would just caution that maybe he'll come in and he'll catch fire straight away, but it might take him a little bit of time. He's a very young man. The club that he has been playing for is his hometown club. So he's moving away from his home for the first time. He's moving away from his family. He's moving out of Argentina into another country, another language for the first time. All these things are huge for him as a person, as a footballer. And that's before you think about the leap from the Argentinian league, with all due respect to that, to the Premier League, which is going to be absolutely colossal. It's possible he hits the ground running, but we also need to be patient with him because this might be kind of a bit more of a slow burner, a one for the future. But what we have, seen, the limited amount we've seen of him, he's obviously got a lot of ability on the ball. He's great at set pieces. Won't need to bother with those anymore. He won't get them off Prowsey, I don't think, even though he's very good at them. But he looks like a real talent. But like I said, I think we just have to take the pressure off of him a little bit and manage our expectations and say this should be a great signing for the future. But if it's not quite this year, that he perhaps is contributing more here and there, he's coming off the bench, perhaps trying to have an impact and making an impression that way. I think we have to allow him that time to grow and adapt into a new country, a new role, a new club, a new division.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Dean, looking forward to this afternoon then. Today will be the first time that Southampton have played a team for the second time this season. What are your memories of Everton's visit to St Mary's Stadium back in October?
Well, a frustrating result in the end, Kenzie, where probably not a lot happened really in the first half, and the game came to life in the second half. Very few chances in the first half. Two teams lacking a little bit of belief. I think Southampton were coming off back-to-back defeats in the Premier League at the time. Starting debuts for Larius, I think, Shaletta Shah, Maitland-Niles as well. So some changes in the team, but we went ahead, and there was a kind of a mad 5 minutes, 3 goals in 5 minutes, and then conceded 2 goals in 2 minutes, where it was a bit of a shock to the system. I think at 1-1, Shay Adams as well has a great opportunity to put Southampton ahead in a one-on-one situation and doesn't quite take it. I think it's a good save from Pickford, and then Everton go down the other end in Dwight McNeil and get a breakaway goal. So Southampton at that point a little bit deflated. So disappointment really. A game where I don't think either team deserved to win, but I don't think either team deserved to lose really. We're seeing an opportunity end with Adam Armstrong, brilliant save from Pickford, showing why he's England's number one. And then a great opportunity end for Shaletta Shah to maybe get an equaliser and become a hero on his debut. But that didn't quite happen. So it was 3 defeats in a row, a frustrating afternoon for Southampton, and a game that they shouldn't have lost. But it was a conceding from set pieces again, and that lack of concentration in defensive areas at that moment of time in the season was really costing Southampton, and that was just an example of it.
Now, with less than 45 minutes to go until kick-off at Goodison, it is time to get your final thoughts and your score predictions, gentlemen. Adam, how do you see this one going?
Oh, well, I'm optimistic, and I said that before Fulham and was made to look a fool. But I'm saying it again now. I feel like this. I don't want to sound like a broken record and keep saying the same things again and again every time we come on, but this is the perfect moment for Saints. They've got this momentum. They won a couple of games, and especially the manner in which they won the Man City game. And I feel like they found. If they were, I said after Fulham, I was worried that we were seeing a real-time experiment taking place. Well, if that's the case, I think they just found the winning formula against Manchester City and the way they need to play, the style they need to play, the formation, perhaps to a degree, the personnel as well. And so the experiment has kind of, in the end, yielded, I think, the result that we probably all felt and we all wanted to see, and perhaps why people were getting frustrated. So now it's a case of replicating that. It's a case of building on that momentum and, going away to Everton with all the disquiet there, all the things today about the board not being able to turn up to the game, protests around the ground. This is going to be, if Saints can start and keep this tight, if they could get a goal early, great. But if not, at least if they can keep it tight, there's a chance that atmosphere at Goodison turns toxic today. And that is only going to help Saints. It feels like you could not have handpicked a better moment to go and have this fixture. It doesn't mean that they automatically win, but you're not really you couldn't create a better set of circumstances for Saints. So therefore, I think after the Man City game, you have to be optimistic. So I am going to be optimistic and go for a 2-0 Saints win.
Okay, 2-0 and Dean, do you think Southampton can take that cup form into the Premier League? And 3 points are obviously sorely needed.
I do, Steve. I agree with Adam. I'm optimistic as well, especially after the last 2 results and the performance on Wednesday and with the fixture against Everton. I think Southampton need to use that negative energy that's surrounding Everton at the moment and start the game fast, frustrate Everton. And I think defensively, keeping a clean sheet today is really, really important because, like I previously mentioned, Everton don't score a lot of goals. They haven't won many games at home this season, and that crowd does turn normally, and it will turn even more in the current situation with the protests against the board. I know that's separate from the game, but it can have an impact when things are not going quite right. So, yeah, look, I'm optimistic today, and I was going to say 2-0 myself, so I'll have to change that. I'll go for Oh, I was going to say, I'll go for a 1-0 Southampton win, but an entertaining 1-0 Southampton win.
All right, well, we'll take either one of those. Dean, Adam, thanks ever so much for your company. As always, great to have you both with us on the show. And thank you, the fans, for joining us on Saints Live as ever. So Everton taking on Southampton, now less than 45 minutes away. We do hope you enjoy the match. And of course, as always, make sure you rejoin us for the final whistle, where the four of us will be taking you through all of the match's major talking points. Bye for now.
See you soon.